Therefore, I do not really recommend ChatGPT for learning purposes, but I do recommend ChatGPT 100%, 200% for revision purposes. If you want to do revision.
Hello, guys. Welcome to Cheenta School of Statistics and Data Science. We are a team of extremely passionate teachers, researchers, and statisticians from the top universities of India and USA.
So this is paper of ISI M.Stat. We will discuss a few first initial problems, and we'll see what we can do with ChatGPT to make it understand. And we'll see that how it can help you. So it's asked that n is a odd positive integer. So we will see that while solving, we will understand how we are thinking. Because only if we understand how you are thinking, we will be able to teach an AI to help you or do similar things for you, right? So we will have to do it very slowly and understand the process that we are using to solve the problem. Not just like, oh, this is a technique and we solve it. That is the way you will never be a good problem solver. Number one, you can crack an examination, yes, and number two, you are falling behind in the whole process of artificial intelligence and stuff. So you have to do the organic way so that you can teach a baby like AI to do that for you and help you in your journey. So this is problem number one of ISI MStat 2024. So n is an odd integer. This is very important. N is an odd integer. N is a information here. So let's see what are the information out here. It's an odd positive integer. Okay. It's a permutation. So for any permutation, sigma of this set, this is the given information, they're considering this product, which is nothing but this. So essentially, as an example, let's say if you have 1, 2, 3, you're doing a permutation. All of you know about permutation is nothing but rearranging the words, right? So rearrange the numbers out here. So let's say you rearrange it like 3, 1, and 2. So this 3 is sigma of 1, this 1 is sigma of 2, and this is sigma of 2. This is a permutation. Okay. So the basic idea is that what is this? This is 1 minus 3 times 2 minus 1 times 3 minus 2. Okay. So this is the definition of the problem. So step number 1. So I'm sure quite a few of you have been involved in IIT JEE or JEE mains type of preparation. So yesterday I was watching a video of H.C. Verma. H.C. Verma was solving one of the IIT problems. Okay. First, so I was watching that video of H.C. Verma. So he was solving a problem. Of course, he was doing the exact same thing that I'm trying to do. Is he took a problem and he was dissecting the problem. He said, to solve a problem, we should understand. He was solving a physics problem, of course. Each of the problem information and what is needed. So he said, oh, this is a thin bubble. So thin, he wrote thin. And he said, this is positively charged all over the surface. He wrote it down. He said, this is spherical bubble. So he wrote in all those conditions out there. Similarly, we should write it down, okay? Because it's a good habit. Why this is a good habit? Because let's say when you solve a problem, you sort of use, let's say, 2 out of 4 conditions, and then you couldn't solve it. That means that probably you have to invoke the other 2 conditions that you have not used to solve the problem. And that will give you extra ideas how to do it. Okay. So step number 1, understand the problem. First, understand. Number 2, understand the details like information given. And number 3 is, this is the basic step. Number 3 is information required. So RTP, required to prove or required to find. RTF, information required. So these 3 steps are extremely important to understand. These 3 sub steps of the first step. So we will expand this and see what is needed. Now the step number 2. So it's asking you about the oddness or evenness, right? So oddness or evenness of the value. So understand, it's not asking about the full value. So is it 0 or not? Okay. It sounds like an easy option because you see it's like a minus b, a1 minus b1, a2 minus b2, right? So can you find a case where it's 0? Of course, so we will understand each of the options step by step. Of course, in the exam hall, this is one option correct and all these things, but that is for the exam. Okay, we will do it in the last 3 months, not now. An ISI exam or IIT needs that. ISI or CMI exam, it will never happen that you will never complete it due to time. Okay, so you have to understand it. Just develop your foundation. That is very important. So you have to see whether whether the value of the product is 0 or not. If it is 0, because this is like a function, this is permutation is a function, right? If it's 0, if it can only be 0 if each of them is 0, that means if sigma I is equal to I, that means it is not permutation. It's just every number is going to the same thing output. So then only it will be 0. So therefore, this is not always true. So this is not always true. So this is removed. Now the question comes, if it's odd and even. So therefore it is, it's not asking about very specific value, but it's asking about odd and evenness of the problem, right? So it's called parity in whatever mathematical sense, but it's asking about the odd and evenness of the problem. So why it is important, the odd and evenness? Let me mark it down. Because it is a partial information, right? Partial information means you do not need to know the exact property of this or function to know this. So that's why it can reduce it down. For example, in statistics, there is a, so I'm trying to connect the idea to many things so that you remember the ideas and the steps. In statistics, there is something called sample survey, okay, or randomization. Now, you know this famous experiment that if you go to a class and if you want to get an estimate, let's say a government want to get an estimate or on, by doing a census, that how many, or a school wants to get an estimate how many students in a school drink, let's say, or a college want to estimate how many college students drink or smoke, whatever. Of course, no one will be answering that, right? But they do not want to know the individual level information. They want to know the average. So what they do is that they say that okay, you do not have to give the information. What you do is that you toss a coin. If it's head, then you say the truth. If it's false, then you say the wrong stuff. And from that, they can estimate the average thing. There's a method for that. This is called randomization technique. I hope I told you the statement correctly or the method correctly. It may be a bit perturbed, but the what I wanted to make you understand is that when the information required is less, you probably need to use a subpart of the idea, okay, not the entire idea to solve the problem. Okay, so that's what we will do here. So we do not need to know all the permutations to do this problem. You do not need to compute all the permutations to do this problem. Okay, you need something more. So you need something called the parity, the odd or evenness of the expression, right? So when it's asked about the odd and evenness of an, now we have to look into the expression. Now when it's asked about the odd and evenness of an expression, we have to look into the expression. Now if you look into the expression, what it is nothing but product, right? So it's a sequence of products, like x1 times x2 dot xn, the sequence of products. So it's like the problem solving should be like a story. It's evolving, so we are doing it logically, so it's like a product. Now so you have to ask whether this product of certain numbers is odd or even, right? So now think about the inverse problem. If you are like, it's similar, right? If you are asked about whether this product is odd or even, what is the next natural question? Can somebody guess? If it asks if x1 times x2 times, or let's if it's asked that ABC, this is odd or even, you need to check that. What is the next natural question? What is the next natural question to investigate? What do you want to investigate? So from a product, if you want to know whether a product is divisible by or odd or even, you want to know whether individual of them are odd or even not, right? Why? Because we know some ideas, we know the results and connect. We know odd times odd is odd, and we know everything else times even is even. So we know certain properties. So therefore, the next natural question is that is individual, each of them odd or even, right? So therefore, now this will investigate if xi's are odd or even. So we want to understand whether each of these individual elements, each of these individual I minus sigma I, this is even or odd. And where is, so the question is that what did we didn't use here? We didn't still use the condition of oddness, right? That's why knowing the information is very important. So we have to somehow connect the fact there are odd number of factors out there, right? So we have to connect the fact there are odd number of factors out there and the individual order evenness. So can we talk about the individual order evenness of each of this, or in a global level, if n is order, order even, n is odd? Now there are two ways to approach this problem. Okay, this question now, when you are stuck, now this is where the abstractness comes up. There's an abstract algebraic equation. Now how to solve it? There's only one way to solve an abstract algebraic problem. Now it doesn't seem intuitive to you. I mean, if whatever I say it's very easy, that means you have done similar things over and over again. But I have taught similar things to kids, okay, class 4, 5, because I have been teaching Olympiad training. I am giving Olympiad training too. So I have to be teaching kids. To them, it is probably not obvious. So, but I will tell you what is the basic idea. The basic idea is that there's an abstract problem and you want to understand it, the first step always is to always try out examples. Okay, try out examples from examples. It's just like a machine learning algorithm. When you try on examples, you're essentially collecting data about the behavior. And when you collect enough data, you will gaze some idea, some conjecture out there. Okay. When you gaze that conjecture, you can try to prove it. So you see a pattern. So therefore, you need your mind to create patterns so that which you can prove. So that's exactly what we will do now. We will create patterns that we will see that whether it is so create patterns. So take examples and create patterns and find patterns and then try to prove it mathematically. Okay. There's an issue. What people do is that people, when I teach this to people, people take the examples, they find patterns, but they say, oh, it is happening for this 10 examples. Hence, it is always true. This is not a mathematically sound statement, and I do not want any of you to follow this path. So, by examples are only mean that this is highly likely, but this doesn't mean it is actually true. There's a difference. Okay. So let's see. It's fun, right? So we need to seek examples. Now this step is doesn't seem natural, or if it seems easy, that means you have done it enough. That's what I'm repeating. But this is important. So for one, you know that a sigma 1 can be 1, so the subtraction is 0. So you can see that it can never this first statement is also not true. Then you can say, oh, it will always be. No, it can be D. What does D mean? That it can be both odd and even. Okay. So therefore, you are looking for examples. What you're looking for is that, can this product be always, is there some example that can create some odd output? If not, that will support your belief that probably it's even. And if you do it for a few examples, you will almost be sure, oh, it's even. How can I prove it? Okay. So let's do it for 1, 2, 3. For 1, 2, 3, whatever you take, let's say you take 3, 1, 2. On the side, I will write the value. For 3, 1, 2, it's 1 minus 3 minus 2 times 1 times 1. So it's even now. Okay. Let's take another 1, 3, 2. 1 minus 1, it's already even, 0. So it's 0, right? Now let's take 2, 1, 3. So again, 3, 3, 0. So let's say 2, 3, 1. So 1 minus 1 times minus 1 times, 2. So it's even. So it seems like all of them is even, or even. All of you, it seems like, it's not true. It seems like. So it's like if you have two options, your intuition, your brain machine learning algorithm is saying probability of B happening is more than D happening. Okay. This is how you eliminate and understand. So if the chance of B is happening more, so let's try to prove it. So you can take out more examples, but you can see at least one of them is even, right? So this is the basic idea. To show, therefore, now this is even. So you have to now show this product is even, right? I mean, can you show? That's the question. We do not know. So you have to show this is even. The good part about even thing is that you have to show just one of them is even, right? Just show one of them is even. It's a direct, if and only if one of them is even, then it's even. If it's even, then at least one of them is even. So it's like, yeah, at least one of them. Show at least one of them is even. Okay, so we have to just show that one of them is even right now, right? How to show that? Remember, we have not still used the condition that n is odd. We have not used that condition. So therefore, you have to somehow use a number of them are odd, and one of them must be even out of it. Now, why it should happen? Number of them is odd, and one of them. So therefore, one of them can be even if, let's say, this is so for some I it is even. That means either n is even and sigma is even, or this one is odd and sigma is odd. Okay. Now, what you will do is you think, oh, I mean, it can happen that all of them are odd and even, right? So it can happen that I can be odd and this can be even, right? It can happen, and vice versa. What is the issue of not happening, right? So what you're trying to do is, this is called the art of contradiction, the process of contradiction. So what you're doing is that you're challenging this, that see, I will somehow try to make it odd. Let's see what happens. This is called the method of contradiction. So what you will do now is that the good thing is that you know the odd and evenness of each of this. That's the good thing of each of the individual values. So what you do is that you try to make correspondingly for odd I, you try to make this one specifically even, so that it comes out odd. All of them try to come out. So you do this for all I, and for I even, you try to make this specifically odd. I try to arrange it. So let's see, do it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what happens. So for 1, you make it specifically even, let's say 2. For 2, you make it specifically odd, let's say 5. For 3, you make it specifically even, let's say 4. For 4, you make it specifically odd, say 1. Now for 5, you make it specifically even. Now, oh, there's no such even thing, right? Only 3 is left. So this strikes in your mind, why is this happening? Now you go back and see that you have not used this stuff. That means the number of odd and even is not equal. And this is exactly happening is n. So what is happening is that since the number of odd and ends are not equal, they are more, there is exactly, so if their n is odd, let's say it's 2k plus 1, then there are k even numbers and k plus 1 odd numbers. Okay, they're k even numbers, k plus 1 odd numbers. Now you're mapping those k even numbers and k plus 1 odd numbers to k even numbers and k plus 1 odd numbers, right? You're mapping them each of them to that. Now understand, for this whole product to be odd, you need, for k even, you need k odd, and for k plus 1 odd, you need k plus 1 even. And it should come by rearranging these two only, right? But this can never happen. Why? Because you're just rearranging the same thing. So therefore, the logic is this: since they are k plus 1 odd and k even, it's called pigeonhole principle in counting, but let's not go into that. It's simple logic. If they're k plus 1 odd, to this, at most k evens can be mapped. So therefore, there should be one odd number which should always be left, and it should be mapped to an odd number because there's no even number left. So therefore, there should at least one odd comma odd pair, and hence the difference should be even, and hence the product should be even, right? So you see how we did it very in a procedural manner, in a step-by-step manner, in a question manner, and it's very easy, right? It's a step-by-step. You just need to give time to it, be patient, and everything sounds logical. We've understood this. So do you want to? So now I must take a permission. Do you want to see how this turns out on ChatGPT? So I have already done it here, but I will not. Yeah. So this is a problem. So let's try to understand this step by step. There are certain prompts that I need to put and understand, but I will not talk about this in details. But let's understand how we can incorporate these problem solving strategies. Now let's we say that this is a problem. Can you solve it? Now let's see what it gives and where it goes wrong. Now what you will see is this, that oh, I think it is giving because I have trained it. Okay, it's giving the right solution because I have done this problem before. Okay, but yeah, it gives the right solution. But you can see if n is odd, each odd. So yeah, it's giving the right solution. Now see, now this is a problem of ChatGPT. It is not giving always the right solution, but the right idea. If you see this problem, they consider this each term, since any odd, j is also odd. This doesn't make sense. This is a rubbish meaning. But what they're trying to do is that you can generate ideas from here. Now for any permutation, this is odd even only if this is odd, and okay, this is also wrong. Yeah, so this is not giving a right answer. You can see this is not giving a right answer, but it's generating an idea, the idea number 1, that there are differences in the number of odd and even, right? It's making you think in the direction. You see, now you will not see this when you start, so that's why you need to spend some time with it. Now what people usually does, I have been trying to make it happen, but what people usually does, they become, oh, ChatGPT is so bad. Now there'll be two groups of people in the future, in the recent future, very recent future. One will say, ChatGPT gives wrong answer. They will like go to, I mean, I don't know where they will go. They will be falling behind, I believe. And one group of will say, oh, this ChatGPT is not giving the right answer. Let's see what we can do to make it give the right answer. Okay. Now that's where you will see that you need to enhance your problem solving, your thought process, so that you can make it understand. Now you have to do prompting now to see that, okay, this statement doesn't sound good, and you will see why people become frustrated. This is actually not easy. So okay, this statement is not right. Can you explain? The idea seems promising, but the proof is mathematically hazy. So now why this is actually, you can ask that why this is, why it gives, I can ask you that why this ChatGPT works. So this is called few shot or zero shot learners. So what does it mean? It means that it doesn't need any training data to learn. It just can do it from its own memory. It can generate reasonable text. Not for mathematics though. But let's see. uh, we have given it feedback. So this is something called RLH. So I forgot the full term, but it's essentially doing reinforcement learning. So I am using very fancy terms, but what it's doing is that whatever you are giving input, it's learning from that its mistake. Okay, so it said, yeah, it will always say you're correct, but it's asking that since how I know the difference will be always odd if and only if one of j, yeah, this is, yeah, what it means that one of j and this is odd and the other is even. But yeah, you have to understand what it means, and it will be even if both are odd and even, which makes sense. Now we consider parity. Parity means odd and evenness of this term in the product. If I and j, okay, this is good. If I and j have different parities, that means if they are odd and even both, then the difference is odd, otherwise even. This statement is correct. So you will see like combined stuff out there. Does the product will consist of terms that are odd only when one of them, yeah, okay. Now since n is odd, they will be equal unequal. This is where the problem is. This is not true. This is not true. No, why? Where this will help for people who want to learn how to write mathematics, this will also help. You see, the logic will help. So that's why your goal, I think, a good goal of a student who is trying to learn math, whatever, trying to practice, is to make ChatGPT solve an entire problem so that you see what is mathematically correct. Okay. And that's why you need to. So essentially, it's called the Feynman technique of learning. You are actually becoming a teacher, and therefore you're grading a student, which is ChatGPT. And hence, this cannot be used for students who are learning for the first time. This should be only used when you have gotten a decent level of hold on your foundations. Okay. So therefore, I do not really recommend ChatGPT for learning purposes, but I do recommend ChatGPT 100%, 200% for revision purposes. If you want to do revision, okay, that's when it is actually helpful. Then you will understand this doesn't sound right. Let me ask it why it is asking that. Otherwise, you will believe in it. That's not right. Okay, so if you do not know, so this is not true. I understand you wanted to mean uneven because you have mathematically shown that. It is mathematically shown that. See, so it doesn't have any logic kind of thing. You have to build in the logic kind of, yeah. But it's fun. It's time taking, but it's fun. What I really find it interesting is, yeah, it also understand it is testing my patience. But what I really appreciate is that you see that you revise it so many times. This whole idea of parity goes inside your vein, and that's the best part. It's like you're gamifying your understanding, and that's what I really like the most. Even if you cannot make it solve, at least you're thinking about an approach multiple times, which you otherwise you have to do it via solving different problems, right? So there is this new company called Anthropic. So what they do is that they help you generate prompts. Okay, now I will show you. So not I will show you now. That's ridiculous to. But what it means that you can generate prompts to make it do better. But your goal is not to make it do better. Your goal is to you make it do it better. Like your no, goal is not to get the right answer right away, because then all the purpose will be defeated, right? But your goal is to interact with it constantly so that it gives the right answer. It's like you're teaching a baby to solve a problem. So that's the idea. So therefore, too many prompting thing will not be important. So just try to interact with it like you're a student and say that like you're trying to understand the solution of that person. Okay, so yeah, so you can continue with this, but this is what I meant. Another important thing I want to tell you is this: the application of this. That it's like it's a generative AI, right? Now I think a better application of, instead of generating the solution, a better application I believe is this: generating a similar problem so that you can practice. Can you generate a similar problem like this? Ask me for the three parameters. Like now you have to give it good parameters because otherwise it will make easy problems. Three parameters. One is novelty. So you want a new problem. One is mathematical correctness. So these are the prompts developed by me, and also difficulty level. Based on my feedback, make a new problem. Update the problem. Do it till I ask you to stop. Okay, so let's see what it gives. Okay, so let's say I give it. So it shouldn't have asked now, but okay. I want novelty 3 out of 5. Mathematical correction, of course, 5 out of 5. And difficulty level, let's say 3 out of 5. Let's see what it gives. So, okay, generating a permutation. I do not know whether it will give a good thing or not. It's still thinking. Okay, now it has done is a made it square. This is fun. This is fun. And this is interesting. Okay, so, okay. So this is asked that whether it's positive or negative. Yeah, so it has changed odd to evenness. So I do not know whether it's difficult or not, but it's, of course, this is not true because you can find counterexample to this, right? So of course this is not true. You understand that, right? But it generates a new question for you, so you can think through a problem. You see, all of you are getting the point, guys. Did you understand the power of this AI, how it can help you in your learning journey? This is why I believe it is the future of learning. And you shouldn't enroll into an institution. I know we are a coaching institution, but we are transforming ourselves to make this better for you. This should be free. This is free out there. Students should not be enrolling just for questions. Should be enrolling in the coaching institution for learning. If you that student doesn't know, that's when it will be helpful. But otherwise you can practice, and we are teaching that. We are trying to teach that, and I hope it helps. Let's see. So let's see, we want to give another. So can you generate? So this is, let's say I want to generate this a more difficult problem. Now you can specify, like, you want creativity, let's say creativity to be 4 out of 5. So let's see, it's doing, I don't know what it's going to give. Okay, sounds interesting. Okay, so it has done something interesting, but it is, you see, slowly it's moving towards calculus kind of things. So it's removing from the parity, right? But it's fun because it's kind of fun to see where what it happens. But you can see it is not a, oh, interesting. Oh, this is interesting because it has removed the minus to this product. This sounds good, but again, this depends upon the positiveness. Is depends upon the products. So each individually, whether this is positive or not. This is of course positive, right? Because all of them are positive. So of course this will be positive. So this is not an interesting problem. So what we can do is that, let's say you want to practice on a very certain aspect, and you can edit out here. So let's say you want parity to be a part of the problem, and that's where you learn it, interact with it. And I believe this is a much more better educational aspect than just solution making or generating ideas of solution. Okay, this sounds interesting, this sounds better, right? This looks good. So you got a few different problems out here, which I think this is a really good problem. Okay, which is kind of the same things, the same idea. You see, this is evenness, oddness. So this is really brilliant. So j minus 5j, that is equivalent to this. Okay, if it's even, this will be 1. If it's odd, then it will be, this is fun. So all of you see the power of beauty of this, guys? Yes or no? Did you like this? So this is how you can enhance your learning journey. I believe each and every student, each and every one of you should be doing it. Yes, absolutely. Amazing application, right? And this takes time and we are trying to do it. We are trying to do it. So this is all. This is fun. And this is important.